crafting journey here, that journey chick over on Instagram. How's everybody doing? Don't forget to hit the like button today, but do it in the left arm instead of the right. He said the right, the right arm's getting a little sore. Yeah. Yes, so we're going to do the left arm instead of the right. But make sure you hit it. He does enjoy the abuse. Please consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. Thank you for subscribing if you are already subscribed. And don't forget to ring the notification bell because you never know when I'm going to come up with another episode that might be a pop-up. I am trying to put together some Animal Crossing so I can bring that to you on Saturday mornings. But I'm having some technical difficulties. But that will be coming soon. I promise you. So what is everybody doing today? It's Wednesday, hump day, hump, 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 hump. I'm trying to clear this off so I can show you my progress. I'm doing it from the side, but here's the progress so far. Yes, I have a long way to go. Okay. So this is what I did yesterday. I had done some of this the day before, and then I did all of this yesterday and the start of the Eiffel Tower. And then I've done all this in the corner here, this foliage here. So now I'm going to start to fill in between here. I needed to go from the side here because of the width of this painting. So we'll see if we can put it back. I'm thinking February 20th is not a realistic date, but I'm doing my best. I don't know if I'm going to get it done by then. We shall see. Okay, we got the microphone back. We got the like button back. Yeah.
What?
Yes, I needed to bring you back. Yes, hello. Yes, I love you, like button. Even though you're abused a lot. So, today is National Whipped Cream Day. Oh my gosh. We should write that in our planner, shouldn't we? I have neglected the planner this past week. Poor thing. Yes. So let's get to the planner. I think I missed Marissa McCartney's birthday. Happy birthday, girl. You will see me with her tonight in her live, The Crafty Heifer, at 7 p.m. Central. As soon as I get done with my live from 6 to 7, I'm going to pop over to her live, and we're going to kick off officially the temperature cross stitch. Yes. Yay. Okay. All right. So whipped cream day, whipped cream. Now, do you guys like the Cool Whip, or do you like the canned? I prefer the Cool Whip. Well, you know what? I like to make my own. I like to get the heavy whipping cream and make my own. Now, that is the best. And the other thing I really enjoy is a whipped cream topping cake. Like, if you're going to get me a birthday cake, either ice cream or the whipped cream topping cake. I don't really care for the buttercream, but the whipped cream, oh, so good. Now, the thing I guess the canned is my least favorite, because I hate when people, like if my granddaughter comes over, I'll find her in the kitchen going, making that weird sound, and I'm like, stop, it's disgusting. And but people love to do that. Did I get the sound right? Yeah, that's the sound. Yeah, it's gross. Next thing you know, it's gone. Whatever you had planned to use it for, you can't because somebody put it all in their mouth. And yeah. So my new chair and table are here in boxes. I can't tell. My son is off today. He's like, well, so what's the deal? Because we're waiting for my sister's COVID results. She went yesterday. I don't think I told you guys this story. So, she gets up first thing in the morning, 7 o'clock. I go in there, she's awake. I'm like, what? Uh, so she's out the door. She gets to the place where she has to go at 8 o'clock, and I guess she has to call a phone number or something, or I don't know, some computer thing, and it keeps saying they're closed. 8:01 closed. 8:02 closed. 8:05 they're open. She gets a spot. Spot number 245. How is that possible? So she sits in her car for a couple hours, and she finally gets to go in and have her test. But at least she got to sit in her car. She didn't have to wait in this, in a crowded place. So, and she had her phone with her, and so all was well. I mean, you can be sick in the car, or you can be sick in the bed. I don't know. So she comes home, and I said, "Well, they're gonna, they didn't tell you." And she's like, "No, they're gonna notify me," which we knew that. So she says, they're going to send me an email. Okay. So they did. After 5 o'clock, they sent her this email. And the email sends her to a portal, and then she has to enter this information. So she goes to the portal, and she enters the information, and it says, "This is the wrong information." Oh my God. So, and of course, they're already closed, so we don't know what the results are. She's going to have to call them today, and good luck getting through to them on the phone. There was an article in the paper. Remember, said, "I'm going to call the news. I'm going to call the news." Well, somebody did call the news. Someone locally, a woman, went to the emergency room by ambulance because she was having heart issues. And she goes by ambulance, and they don't have any place for her, so they just put her in a wheelchair in the waiting room, and then she comes home from the ER later on. Now, nobody knows what happened at the ER, and let me just caveat this by saying it wasn't my hospital. It was a different hospital in Wichita. She gets home. She doesn't even get in the door. She collapses before she gets into the door and dies. What happened in that ER? Oh my God. So the hospital's writing we're understaffed, we're challenged, we don't have, blah, blah, blah. We know. But people are dying. Now they're saying that in my state, the predominant variant is still the COVID, the Delta variant. Yeah, the Delta variant, as opposed to the Omicron. I'm not sure I believe that, but that's what they're saying. Because the people with Omicron are sitting home trying to get test results. That's what. So if she's positive, I got to run over and get a test today. I feel fine. I felt fine yesterday. I made spaghetti. Remember yesterday was like National Spaghetti Day? I made my canned spaghetti, out of the jar. It was Prego. I prefer ragu, but it was Prego. So a little watery, and to be honest, I had to admit to my sister that, yeah, hers is better. I guess I'm getting spoiled. But I ate it. It was delicious. It hit the spot. Yeah. All right. So, without further delay, because we have a lot to talk about. Yes, we do, in Crafting and Crime Daily. Because there's a new trial, and I need to tell you who the dead person is in part 3 of the Chippindales. Yes. Oh, Stitch is awake. He's got me up at 5:30. I don't know how he did it, but all I know is I look to the side and my nightstand comes crashing down. The lamp, the CPAP, everything on it. And Stitch is like running out the door. I'm like, oh God. So I had to clean all that up. Oh, that cat. And yesterday, I also got 2 Diamond Art Clubs in the mail. Remember, I ordered them with my birthday money. I ordered 2 Diamond Art Clubs. And they're here. I get to unbox them. All right. Okay. So let's start with the Chippindales, shall we? Let's start with, that's Jingle Bells. Wrong song. Yeah. Chippendales. Okay, so meanwhile, they found this dead body in New York. So the show is going on. The show is, the tour is going fantastic. Nick DeNoia and his assistant, this female, they're taking this tour all up and down the East Coast. They get to Indianapolis. Their first two shows are sold out, so they add a third show. Well, after the second night, Nick tells his assistant, I got to go to New York. I got a business meeting. So he flies to New York. That's where his main office is. So guess who the dead guy was? Yeah, Nick DeNoia. Now, as you recall, Nick DeNoia is the guy that had the napkin deal with Steve Banerjee, the founder and owner of the Chippindales. So Nick DeNoia had the rights to all the tours, but he had to split the sales with Steve Banerjee, the owner. And Steve Banerjee thought that Nick was shorting him. So the first thought that his assistant had when she found out that the body found in the Chippendale building in New York was Nick, hey, Steve Banerjee did it. But no one could ever prove that he had anything to do with it. So the case goes unsolved. Who shot Nick Banerjee? Now, at the time that he was shot, there was an assistant in the building, a male assistant that he had, and he testified, or he told the detectives that this Hispanic male walked in. He gave a description of the male. He says, he walked into my office and he said, are you Nick? And he says, no, his office is down the hall. So the guy walks down the hall. Meanwhile, the assistant, he gets up and goes to the bathroom. While he's in the bathroom, he hears a gunshot. He comes running out of the bathroom. Nick is shot in the head. The Hispanic guy he's gone. People do see him fleeing from the building because he just didn't fit. Why is he fleeing? He runs down all these stairs. He's gone. He left no fingerprint evidence. There was no evidence whatsoever to link anybody to this crime, to figure out who the shooter was never solved. So the show must go on. So what happens? Nick doesn't have a wife, doesn't have any kids, so all the rights to the Chippendale tours go to his siblings, who turn around and sell the rights back to Steve Banerjee. So now Steve Banerjee has everything. He is running this multi-billion-dollar Chippendale business. Yes, wow. But after Nick dies, things start going downhill. And all the guys, the dancers, they're saying, Nick was like the heart of this organization. And once he passed away, we just kind of lost our spirit for it. We were just doing things by rote. Just we were up there, we do it, and the new guy doing the choreography wasn't allowing any audience interaction, and it just wasn't the same. Originally when it started out, they were kissing the women and getting the money in the G-string. That was not happening anymore. And they were gathering lawsuits, discrimination lawsuits, because they wouldn't allow men into the clubs. They were gathering lawsuits from the fire department, the police department, for overcrowding, being a nuisance. It just got to be too much, these lawsuits. In fact, his original LA club lost their liquor license because they had so many lawsuits. So he had to close that club. That club is now an adult daycare center. It is no longer Chippendales, but it continued to run in other places. So Chippendales continued on into the 80s. Then there was a guy named Strawberry. That's his code name. This guy comes forward to the FBI. So around about this time that the lawsuits are being gathered, they lose their liquor license, another group pops up, the Adonis. I think that's what they called themselves, Adonis. And what it was it was a splinter group of the Chippindales, dancers that had left, choreographer that had left, and this one guy, he was a dancer. He left to go to Adonis. He was an MC. His name was Rick Beard. So they take it on the road. They go overseas. Now they're touring Europe, and they're in Blackpool, England, when this man named Strawberry goes to the FBI in Las Vegas, and he tells the FBI, he says, listen, I have a tale. It's going to sound really far-fetched, but I need you to listen to me. He says, I have a career where I travel all over the place, but I was sitting in a bar, and I was approached by this gentleman, and we struck up a conversation, and he mentioned that if I was interested, he was looking for someone to travel to Blackpool, England, and inject cyanide. Now, how a conversation got to injecting cyanide, I don't know. Inject cyanide into 2 of these Adonis dancers, including Rick Beard, the MC, who used to be a Chippendale. So this guy, he's listening. He's like, what? This is strange. And he's like, if you do it, I'll give you $25,000. So now he's thinking, I know too much, because the guy shows him the syringes. He's like, look, I got the syringes here. This got the sign. Just have to, distract them, inject them, and go on your merry way. And no, you call me up when you got it done, and I'll give you the 25 grand. He goes, and so now Strawberry's thinking, I know too much. If I don't agree to do this, I'm going to get a cyanide injection. So he says, okay, buy me a ticket. Let's go to Blackpool. So the guy drives him to the airport. When he gets to the airport, he gets out of the car, and he's thinking, I've got to get away from this guy somehow so I can report this thing. So the guy, he says, you don't have to come in. I'll just see myself. And the guy's like, no, I'll see you off. So he actually waits till the guy gets on the plane, watches the guy get on the plane. So now this guy's stuck. He's on his way to Blackpool in England. So he gets to Blackpool, and he immediately throws the syringes in the trash, gets on another flight, and goes back home. But he doesn't go home. He goes to Vegas because he's familiar with Las Vegas, and he knows where the FBI is. So he goes to the FBI, and he tells them this story. So they're like, this, I don't know. This sounds really strange. So they said, okay, we're going to get this guy on the phone, and if you can get him to, tell us any of what you've told us, then we'll believe you. So they wire him up. They get the guy on the phone. The guy's name's Ray. They get Ray on the phone, and the guy, that Strawberry, he tells Ray, he's like, hey, I'm over here, but I'm really not sure how am I going to approach these guys? I'm not even sure which one is which. They all kind of look alike. So Ray describes the 2 that, and he's like, oh, I know which one you mean now. Okay, but, how am I going to get, he's like, if I were you, I would just, take a hammer, hit them in the nuts, and then when they bend over, just inject them, and he was being silly, but he gave them everything they needed. The FBI was like, oh my God, so this is real. Someone has hired someone to put a hit on these 2 guys. So in exchange for this Strawberry's testimony against Ray, because they do arrest Ray, they arrest him, they put him in the witness protection program. So we only know him as Strawberry. So meanwhile, Ray has been arrested. Now Ray is squawking. He's squealing. He's like, you know what? This is Steve Banerjee. Banerjee hired me to have put these hits out on these 2 guys with the Adonis organization. And by the way, he also hired me to find somebody to kill Nick DeNoia. And back in the 70s, he hired me to do fire bombings on other LA clubs. So they're thinking, oh my God, this thing is huge. So now they're trying to trap Steve Banerjee into confessing, because they can't go alone on this guy's testimony. Um, but so they need something on Steve Banerjee. So they get Banerjee they wire up this guy Ray. They try to get Banerjee. Banerjee won't talk. He's like, listen, I'm afraid the FBI is going to listen in on me. I'm not talking, because Ray's like, we needed to talk about this cyanide thing over in Blackpool, and he's like, I can't do it. It's just not safe. So they decide they're going to put Ray in a different country. So they fly him over to Rome, Italy. So he calls from Rome. He says, listen, I'm in Rome. You told me to leave the country, because Banerjee had said, leave the country and then we'll talk. I'll come meet you in Rome and we'll have a conversation. So he goes to Rome. He calls Banerjee. He says, hey, I'm here. And then Banerjee says, listen, I can't meet you in Rome. Let's make it Zurich. He says, because I'm not a U.S. citizen. I don't have the correct passport. He wasn't even a U.S. citizen. He never bothered getting his citizenship in the U.S. Oh my God. So he can't get to Rome. So the guy's like, now you want me to fly to Zurich to have a conversation with you? And the guy, Ray's like, this is ridiculous, So anyway, and meanwhile, the FBI is like, holy cow. And Ray is telling him, why are you scared of the FBI? The FBI is domestic only. The CIA is international. FBI is not going to be investigating you out of the country. And Steve's like, I don't know. I don't trust it. And so anyway, so finally, Steve Banerjee flies to Zurich. And then, so they set up this hotel room. The FBI sets up this whole... First of all, the FBI had already arranged with the Italian police over in Rome to set up this whole thing and work together with the Italian police to get Steve arrested and extradited back to the U.S. Now they got to run over to Zurich really quick because Steve's on his way, and do the same thing with the Switzerland police. They get into the hotel room. They have 3 hotel rooms booked, one on either side of Ray's room where he's going to have this conversation with Steve, and everything is, all the acoustics are worked out and it's all set up. Steve calls Ray, says, I'm here. And Ray's like, yeah, here's my hotel room. And Steve's like, I'm not coming to your hotel room. Let's meet at this bar. So now the FBI is like, oh my God, are you kidding me? So they race to get Ray all mic'd up. They put it in his jacket, and so they send him out to meet Steve Banerjee at a bar. So they get to the bar, and they're listening from, the van or wherever they're at, listening, and they can't hear anything. So they get in touch with this undercover guy that's in the bar, and they're like, what's going on? We can't hear anything. And he's like, because Ray took his jacket off. So they call the owners of the bar, and they said, you need to close the bar. It was a bar in a hotel room. Close the bar and send the people elsewhere. And they thought that would force them out. Ray would put his jacket back on, and they'd go to another place. Well, they did. They went into where there was music going on, into the dance part of the place. So now they can't hear over the music. So 2-3 hours go by. Steve is drinking, Ray's drinking. Finally, Ray says, listen, let's go back to my hotel room and let's have this conversation. So Steve's like, okay. So they rush back to the hotel room. They just get there before Banerjee arrives. He goes into the room with Ray, and they have the conversation. And they're talking about, the murders. They're talking about the cyanide. They're talking about the bomb. This whole conversation is going on. Steve admits to everything. They get it all on tape, and they arrest him. Now he is charged with all these charges, and nobody in the business can believe it. I mean, that was the end of the Chippindales. The Chippindales just abruptly ended with the arrest of Banerjee, and nobody could believe this shy, stuttering man was behind, fire bombings, murder, attempted, murder for hire plots. Nobody could believe that he was doing that. But he was manipulating The entire time he had the Chippendales, he was manipulating everybody so that they could become famous, committing these crimes behind the scene. And they're like, we didn't even know him. We thought we knew him, but we didn't really know him. So meanwhile, what do you think Banerjee does? He kills himself in jail. Never goes on trial. He kills himself. He dies at the age of 50. No, 40. He was in his 40s. He dies at the age of 40. Kills himself in jail. So now Ray, he was sentenced to 15 years in jail, but because he had cooperated with the FBI, he only served 2.5 years. And then Strawberry Witness Protection Program. Yep. They did find because Ray told them who he had hired to murder Nick, the Hispanic man. So he was arrested. He's serving 25 years to life for the hit on Nick DeNoia. So sad, the tale of the Chippendales. But not to worry, there are other male dance reviews, and the club in New York is now a Bed Bath & Beyond. So the LA one is an adult daycare, and the one in New York is a Bed Bath & Beyond. Hey, all's well that ends well. So, I know we have a lot to cover today. There's a new trial, yes. And my sister gave me a book. Look at how cute it is. Gnomes for Christmas. I'll be gnome for Christmas. So she said it's to put your notes in for your trials. So yesterday there was a trial of Chandler Halderson. Chandler, and I'm not going to tell you that yesterday was the opening statements, and I don't really want to give away his motive, because when I heard it, I just went, because the prosecutor starts out, he's telling the story, and then all of a sudden he gets to the motive, and I'm like, because remember yesterday I said, why would anybody kill their parents? He's accused of he's charged with first-degree intentional homicide of his father and his mother. He's charged with mutilation of a corpse because he dismembered them, and he's charged with lying to the police because he submitted a false report. He called them and said, my parents are missing, and he's signed an attestation saying, they're missing. Copy. So this is a trial that's occurring in Wisconsin. We just love Wisconsin. You guys have the best trials in Wisconsin. So his father was Bart Halderson, and his mother was Krista Halderson. Bart was 50 years old. Krista was 53. He had an older brother who no longer lived at home. They were born 18 months apart. His older brother had a nice career. He was a computer technician. He had a fiance. But so did Chandler. Chandler had a girlfriend too. So the prosecution gets up and they start their opening statements, and they say on July 1st, sometime between July 1st, between 3 and 5 p.m., Chandler murders his parents. Now, people are starting to ask questions because, and there were quite a few witnesses on yesterday after the opening statements. There was the brother. The brother took the stand. A lot of people that were employed with Krista at her place of employment took the stand to testify that she had, on July 2nd, she had not taken the day off, but she didn't show up for work, which was a Friday. Then there was the 3rd, and July 4th was a Sunday. She doesn't show up for work on the Monday, and they're calling Chandler like, where's your mother? And he's like, she went to the cabin for the weekend. They had a cabin on a place called White Lake, and where their grandfather had built this log cabin back in the 40s, and this place had been in their family forever. Chandler and his brother had stopped going. They hadn't been there in a while, but every year his parents would go at least once to open the place, and then they would go maybe 3 or 4 times a year. They would go up there. Sometimes they would go with other people. Sometimes they would go by themselves. Well, this time, Chandler, when people are starting to ask questions, he decides, I better report them missing. So he goes to the police and says, "Hey, my parents went camping. They went all up to the lake house, our lake house, and they never came back. And now their employers are calling, and I'm getting worried. And I have my mother. She text messaged me on Sunday. She said she was going to the parade, because July 4th, and that everything was going fine. She'd be home the next day. She never came home. So they drive Chandler back to his house where he lives with his parents. And he allows the police to go through the house. So we heard from several police officers. He allows them to go through his house. He shows them the different rooms. Interestingly enough, the furniture is covered with linen, which is, I don't cover my furniture with linen. Well, the couch, because the dogs are always on it. But, hi, Tootsie. We got side. So he's allowing them to tour the house, and then they bring over a female police officer, and she's got these two attestation forms, one for the father, one for the mother, and he has to attest that his parents are missing. So he signs the forms. Now let me tell you a little bit about Chandler. At this point, Chandler, he is a Madison College senior. He's a senior at Madison College, getting ready to graduate. He works for American Family Insurance, and he works remotely from home. Now he's getting a degree in renewable resources, and he had recently gotten hired by SpaceX. So he and his fiance are planning to move to Titusville, where SpaceX is located, and he, as soon as he graduates, he's going to go work for SpaceX. He was also a scuba diver, an accomplished scuba diver who's worked with the police before. Then, so his brother takes the stand. His brother testifies, back in June, he was suddenly diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So he's hospitalized. So he's getting a lot of this attention from his mother. Well, he gets home, and then the following week, his brother, Chandler, falls down the stairs, hits his head in the front and the back. Now, I don't know how you do that. When you fall down the stairs, you hit your, I don't know, he hit his head front and back, goes to the ER, comes home with a neck brace, says he's got a concussion, internal bleeding, he's got numbness and tingling in his legs. So now they're all doting on Chandler, whereas they had been doting on his brother the week before. So now he's saying, I'm going to have to delay my move to Titusville because, I'm injured, and I don't know what's going to happen. Meanwhile, the police go over and look at the cabin. There's no one there. There's no signs that anyone has been there. The brother testifies that he goes up to the cabin with his fiance. They meet the police up there. They're looking in the boathouse. They break in. They thought they had the right keys. They don't. So they allow the police to break into the cabin, and there's no signs that anyone has been in this cabin. So that is where this case stands. Now, there was a lot more that went on in the opening statements. If you saw them, don't give it away, because the motive for this is really, really interesting. I'm going to wait to see what comes out, what the evidence actually shows as far as this guy's motive, because it is so interesting. So interesting. So, yeah, what happened? Let's go back to see what happened this day in history. So, this day in history, Sonny Bono. Do you remember Sonny Bono? Sonny and Cher? Babe, I got you, babe. I got you. You probably don't remember that. Cher used to have a Sonny. She used to be married to this guy, Sonny Bono. He left, they got divorced. He's married to his fifth wife. He's become a congressman. He's doing very well in politics. So he and his wife, they go on vacation to South Lake Tahoe. They go over to the Heavenly Resort, which is it is heavenly. I mean, I have skied in Lake Tahoe. It is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Well, around 5 o'clock, he says to his family, I'm going to go skiing by myself. So he goes up on the mountain, he's skiing by himself. He never comes down. So they're like, where is he? So they report him missing. And they go looking for him. They find out that he has crashed into a tree. He had massive head injuries, and he was dead. Horrible. Dies after he hits a tree skiing. That is just awful. Oh my God. So that's what happened this day in history. And it happened in let me tell you the year. 1998. Yeah. Okay. So that's the show for today. Don't forget, this evening, Craft With Me Wednesday. I'm going to be coloring with Shalene's Coloring Book Nook. Oh, that's her old name. Shalene's Creativity Room. Shalene's Creativity Room. She used to be the Coloring Book Nook. Anyway, she loves to color. We started this page in an Alice book. I'm going to help by, I don't care if I ever finish these pages. I'm terrible at coloring. But we're going to color this page together. She's coloring the same thing. And we'll chit-chat. I'll see how her holiday went. And then at 7, that's 6 Central. At 7 Central, I'm going to be in the Crafty Heifers Live for the kickoff of our cross-stitch temperature collab. So I will see you then, everybody. Take care.